How's everything been? What's been happening?
Dude, just pure grind, mayhem, chaos, the whole 9 yards. It is an operational, interesting time.
I love the fedora. That's a new look.
Yo, this
Oh,
new
it's a
look.
bucket hat.
Yeah, no, you know what it is? It's a bucket hat, but it's an old school one. Like I'm trying to make new ones for Midday Squares to be like really just dope and epic.
Yeah.
Because I wear them all the time. Blocks the sun, you look funky, and it's different.
I love it. I love it. It's a good. I always wanted to do a fedora, like an actual one. I just never got there yet. I think it's at a different stage of my life that I'll get to the fedora stage.
Well, let's get you on one ASAP.
Let's get cooked. If there's an MDS one, I'll take it.
I'll send it your way. I'm trying to look good on the camera.
Hey guys, as everyone joins here, hello. What's going on, guys? What is happening? We have Michelle here. Rob, what's going on? Miriam. Hey guys. Hello. What is cooking?
We're gonna fire it up.
I get this here. Hey, what's going on? Chris, Gustavo. It's a wicked name, Gustavo. I love that one. Clarence. We have Mark going to be joining in probably like 15 minutes or so. He had one last minute, so he's coming with the casually late play, which I absolutely love. Where's everyone from, by the way? So Toronto here. Like Cindy, Chris, Virginia. Okay, Cindy's in Toronto. Mark's in Virginia. Okay, Kitchener. Yeah, Montreal, Ottawa. Where are you, Jake?
Montreal right now.
For how long?
I'm leaving September 6th to 10th to New York City, and then Toronto actually the 12th to like the 18th, and then Philadelphia. It's a whack month. It's a whack month. It's one of those milk runs.
So, and that's the CHFA you're going to be going to in September, right?
Yeah, are you coming?
Yeah. We just got a booth.
Oh, we're gonna fire it up so hard. We're gonna have the time of our lives.
What's your recommendation for boothing? What have you noticed work best? I feel like you've done so many of them now.
Just bring the energy. You have good energy. You have a good vibe. I'm telling you, people like energy. They like passion. They love seeing people being human and not so robotic and stand still. So just do that. Like we bring a flag and we wave it around and it brings a lot of noise. Bring the music, get people dancing to ABBA, doing the whole 9 yards.
That's amazing. Yeah, maybe we got to do that. We need you guys have but your guys' booth is wicked too. Like I remember seeing it in California at Expo West. And it was it's like the full setup. And
we do the whole thing.
How much food do you guys give away? Like, how much do you guys plan?
At CHFA, it would be less than Expo, but a couple thousand easily. A couple thousand bars. I think Expo we brought 18,000. Here we're bringing way less than that, like 3 to 4 maybe. But the idea is it's really we just like to bring the energy there and meet people and people get all our retailers that we work with, all of our, some of our investors are there. It's nice to be in person in that good spirits, just the energy.
Oh, that's amazing. Now, and who here is going to CHFA? Anyone in the chat going there? I see some people from Toronto. And if you don't know what CHFA is, how would you explain it? Jake?
CHFA it's a trade show for all of the health, mostly Canadian health food brand. There are American brands as well, but the idea is it brings them all together to present their products. Also, it brings retailers there so they can see the products, meet the teams. Yeah. It's really just a great space to meet all the emerging brands in the CPG world, I guess. And, obviously services as well, similar things to what you guys do. And so it's just if you want to get into the CPG space, go there, just go, show up and you'll have fun. There's events, there's parties, there's live shows. There's, my good friend Aaron took over it and he's doing a phenomenal job, just making it more new, I guess more modern rather than the old school experience of trade shows.
Interesting. Wow. Yeah, no, it's wicked. I'm super excited for it. And in the comments, just as Jake gets in here, and then Mark's going to be coming into it shortly. Guys, if you could add your guys' websites, we'll be asking a couple polls here. And Jake can see all the answers on the back end. I think Jake, you can. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So in the comments here, add your website. If you do sell on Amazon, add the Amazon link because we might be able to actually go through a couple and we can talk shop and buzz about it. Buzz Nutrition, as always. Chris,
we love Buzz. They're great. They're great folks.
Michelle's here. Okay, amazing. Matthew. Yeah, amazing. Rocking here. Oh, okay. Rob from Fair Trade. Amazing. Stroll Air.
Fair trade, baby. We love fair trade. We're fair trade product and proud of that.
We just did a session with them yesterday, the folks there. It was this whole like Amazon 101 training. So it was good timing.
They're super cool lads. You know, like they're doing some good stuff for the world.
So as we jump into the stuff, yeah, guys, keep adding it. We're gonna be hitting you guys with some polls because we want to just learn a little bit more about you guys. But let me dive right into some of these things. We wanted to make this session traditionally with the events that we do, Jake, for context. They're usually much bigger. But the idea with this one, we wanted to try to narrow it down just to be a lot more intimate. So I have a bit of slide deck of things that can guide us. Some of it's on Amazon, selfishly, because I'm curious your thoughts. But a lot of this, I think, I want to be talking about the CPG world and what you're seeing, how to get into retail. And there's a lot of things for anyone that is inside the room that came to the D2C event we did in July. It was a kick-ass session, and there's some of those things there that I want to be able to touch on as well. But guys, as you guys have questions, blast them away. Like we have Jake for some time here, so I'm going to be going through some things, but like selfishly, I made this intimate so that you guys can get in here, ask questions, see as you guys want. So don't think this is formal. It's more of a coffee date between Jake and I, and as Mark comes in here too. So shoot away as we go through this, guys.
I love a coffee date. I have my coffee though. Do you have yours?
I didn't get it in time. I got here last second, so I'll pour it while you're going through some things.
Okay, let's fire it up. Let's get some value add in here.
Let's go, baby. So, Jake, you're in a bar. You had a minute to explain yourself, the company. What do you talk about? I'm gonna grab my coffee while you're doing this.
Yeah. So, hey everybody, super pumped to be here. Obviously, Blair is a beauty, and we've met through multiple occasions and multiple events actually. But you know, my purpose in life, before I get into what we do at Midday Squares, is I truly go out there to spread good vibes and make people feel something. I really want to show the world that you can win at anything you do, whether you're working in plumbing, whether you started a company, whether you're teaching a class, by being unapologetically yourself every day. I really want to show that we can build $1 billion business in the CPG space, which is really traditional in terms of an industry, and do it while being myself, wearing beat shirts to board meetings, dancing my way through retailers. And I think that that's something unique. Us for Midday Squares, we had data. We were given this great data that we found in the chocolate space and the vegan space. My sister was creating a product for my brother-in-law for his afternoon chocolate craving and slump. And she made him something that was just better for you, that tasted delicious, was dark chocolate, but also had some sort of functionality. And what we did was we basically put clean protein, clean fiber, and good fat together with chocolate to actually create this functional chocolate bar. And it's been a crazy ride. It's since August 4th, 2018, and we're here today about it. But I think today what we should talk about is a lot more about the idea of how we win, for example, at retail, how we're doing it with our D2C customers, how we're doing all that stuff. And again, this is an open book, guys. Nothing's off the table. If you want to ask anything, please don't be shy. We don't hide anything other than how we make the product.
So the one thing, let me talk on a couple of Amazon things, because you guys are kicking ass there. When you guys were thinking about, and you guys sat down as a team, obviously you had retail, you had e-commerce, you had Amazon. Like, how did that mix? What did those conversations look like? Because we talked to a lot of like CPG founders, led brands, and there's a lot of hesitation of the marketplace. Like, what did you say? What were some things? I want to go your overall thoughts.
So I think that it's getting more interesting when Mark comes on about Amazon, because for us, we still haven't optimized Amazon to the greatest level. And what I mean by that is, when we launched in August 2018, we started with our website. We had a Wix website at the time. Now it's Shopify. But what we did was we just created we wanted people to have the ability to buy our product as a sample. So literally one bar for 25 cents. And the reason why we did that was to get them to commit their credit card. So we didn't just get freeloaders. They actually had to put their credit card down and then they can get the bar, even though the bars were very expensive. They were $3.99 at a time. So we were losing a ton of money, and we would actually go hand deliver them. But what that did was it created a trial, and then it created our D2C business on our website to start blowing up. So once you got the sample the first time, if you wanted to buy it again, you had to buy a box of 12, right? Mm-hmm. And the problem with our product is that it's refrigerated, so it's fresh. And it makes it very complex to ship chocolate that's fresh, because you need to ship it right away. It needs to be 1-day shipping. It needs to have insulation, sometimes a dry ice pack, stuff like that. So when we started, we were blowing up on our D2C side. It was literally 98% of our business. And then we realized that we might as well try the retail route, which is, physical retail. And we went to a bagel shop, and that the product flew off the shelf, and it was easy because you shipped a big order to them. So we were profitable on it. And so that started to grow slowly. And then about a year and a half in, we decided that we'll try out Amazon as another platform because people keep Googling Midday Squares Amazon or Midday Squares, are you on Amazon? And we'd always get questions, are you on Amazon? And a lot of our American customers at the time they only wanted to buy through Amazon. They didn't want to buy through our website, even though that the prices were basically going to be similar or the same. And that's when we decided, we said, you know what, even though we can't join the actual Prime program because we ship from our facility and the fresh program here is not available, and we're not open 24/7 through 7 days a week, so the shipping requirement be on time, still did Amazon to supplement for our consumers who actually vividly shop on Amazon every day, right? So we start to see natural growth on that. As soon as we launched it, we put very little into marketing at the beginning, and then we start to see that we were in the top 3 sellers at one point, and we weren't even on Prime. But at that time, we were giving our attention to Amazon. And then right now we've scaled back on the D2C due to our shipping costs. We have focused more on now long retail and playing the game of a 70% wholesale business, 30% D2C. And out of that D2C, about 75 is coming from our website, 25 from Amazon.
So you mentioned a couple of really good things there. So you mentioned, so on the e-com site, you actually were basically just like giving away the product. How what do you with new founders or brands that are trying to get their product into as many hands as possible, like, do you still recommend that? Is that still a sustainable option? Like, how far do you push it between like losing money versus brand awareness?
Well, great question, Blair. So I think in CPG, the food and beverage space, let's look at the grocery store for a second. If you go to a supermarket like Walmart, or you go to Loblaws if you're in Canada, or in the US, Kroger, whatever, Whole Foods, there's about 20 to 40,000 different SKUs in a store. Think about that. You have to compete, not just with your natural competitors, but in a grocery store, there's limited space and max amount of product, right? So in order to stand out, you need to do something that's different, right? So if I were to just put my product at Kroger or Loblaws, who the hell would know the product and find it? It would be a disaster, right? So when we started, we said, how can we get the trial if we're not in the retailers? How do we get their attention? How do we get people to honestly not just be like the freeloader trials? And that was, credit card is necessary to have them commit. So they actually have to do an effort to show that they want to try this product. And what we saw was, yes, we were getting a lot of repurchases after, but the problem was at 25 cents, you're delivering a $3.99 product at the time. And we were hand delivering them because we couldn't afford Canada Post at the time, which was $15 at the time to just get the product the next day to the person. So think about it. We were losing so much money doing it, and it was draining the company in terms of capital. But what it did, and I did recommend doing it for the first 3 months, was it got the proper targeted trial we wanted to then gain a customer base that was going to be there for a longer run, right? So yes, it was draining money at the beginning, but in the long run, it created a natural starting base for us, which is what we needed to then go into retail. So I think it's important to try these things and be okay to lose and burn the money, but eventually you got to flip the switch. And that's when we closed it down. We kept on raising it 25 cents, 50 cents a sample, 75 cents, $2. And then we just said, screw it. It can no longer do. It's not feasible because now we actually have our base.
Right. And everyone, by the way, Mark just entered the chat. What's going on, Mark?
You see how Jake wore a hat? Because I told him, don't be trying to show me up with that beautiful hair you got there.
Mark, my hair, Mark, you're lucky. My hair, I didn't blow dry my hair today, so I wore the hat. But
you have beautiful Jewish locks. Okay, we know people don't know that we're in the tribe, and I'm telling you, this guy's got beautiful.
I curl them. They're naturally curled, but I give a little bit more curl with it.
You're lucky you didn't come all the way down here, dude. You know how you do it.
Nice hair,
anyway.
Mark. Nice hair for you.
Mark, for anyone who doesn't know you, the bar introduction, how would you explain yourself to a new person?
I'm a founder in the CPG space. We have an organic plant-based snack company.
Amazing.
Good snacks.
You guys got to try them out. They're amazing. Yeah. Mark's been in the space for quite some time. So as you guys have questions or you don't see him all over LinkedIn, if you guys live under a tree, he's got some really good knowledge here. So as we kind of went into that, Mark, what Jake and I were just talking about was that when you're getting started. So Jake mentioned a couple of really cool things on the e-com side of when they're launching. They actually just did almost like a giveaway, and they do it for a lot of time. Jake, my question for you is that if you had to do MDS again, would you? Right? And I guess, Mark, what did you do to try to get your hands into as many customers as possible when you guys started?
So Mark, he's talking about, we did an online sample program when we started for 25 cents a bar, right? So we just wanted initial trial because we were just starting August 2018, and the idea was just get the commitment to try. So it's a targeted customer that could actually, like, that wants to actually try, not to freeload. It wasn't feasible over time as the costs of shipping were absolutely insane, and now they're even more insane. So the question I would say is, I wouldn't do that again, Blair. What I would do is I would go really hard on social media to build the community and just keep the prices at the right point, because to burn that kind of money off the bat, it's dangerous. It's a dangerous game to play, to continue to burn. And there's easy ways to use social media. Like, look, you just said Mark on LinkedIn. He's all over LinkedIn, and obviously he's building a customer base and a fan base on what he's doing, which naturally, if they want to support him, they're going to go buy his product or share his content, right? So I think you can get creative without having to burn the money through the shipping and stuff like that.
Jake, for you guys, at least you're lucky, and everybody should know this too. It's always the product, right? What is it? What's the format? What's the size? What's the weight? I'm actually more curious. I hope you don't mind the banter here. Were you like, can you put it in a flat envelope and put a stamp on it?
No, so Mark, we were unable to. So we had to put it in an insulated, at the time, like those, like, it was a silver insulation package. And then we would have to get 1-day delivery on it, which was like $15. So imagine us shipping one bar that they paid 25 cents for, and it was $15 plus our COGS, plus the cost of the bar. And the cost of the bar at the time was way higher than, now, but it was crazy. And imagine that on 1,000 customers, you're burning a lot of money, a lot, fast.
Yeah. No, I understand. And are we talking specific right now? Just me coming in. Is this Amazon platform? Or are we talking website stuff?
We wanted to talk Amazon. We wanted to get that out of the way because we had the e-com and retail side that we wanted to dive into. Because obviously you guys have the giants and how to get product in shelf. But what we wanted to tackle on the Amazon, and it's really casual, Mark, how we're going through these things. It's more the coffee shop, but what we were just trying to figure out is that, like, what did you guys consider when you started the Amazon platform and what that actually looked like?
That short answer for Amazon and anybody who's on here is, and I'm sure Jake has even touched on this, but it's you got to be there. I still to this day know some who aren't on there, who they drive everything through their website, and I love that idea. Because you own you actually get to own the customer. It's the only way you get the email, and that's how you get the chance to sell to them, right? Again. You have all the information of where they are, what they look like, again, because you can actually do follow-up stuff. So that's the plus of website, right? Versus Amazon. However, Amazon is where everybody is shopping, and that is the name of the game. You have to be where your customers are. And if you don't have a customer on Amazon, I don't even know what you're selling. So you have to be on Amazon. That's how I look at it. I also think it's easy. I think it's so easy to get on Amazon, to get started on it. It's such a low-hanging fruit. Why not do that? And then on the back of it, just to close the button on it, to go to what Jake was saying, there are so many ways now to get the trial going on Amazon where you don't have to spit out $15 or $20 to acquire, right? Again, it might not be the whole thing, but just get the product up there, and you could do a first purchase coupon. I mean, really for the entire amount if you really wanted to, but you could do it significant enough to just get attention and get that customer who maybe was thinking about it to pull the trigger. And I love that idea when it comes to trial. So that's just a snapshot of me entering.
I think Amazon shows a bit of trust with customers, new customers. I remember when we didn't have the Amazon account, they wouldn't buy from our website, certain individuals. And they said, well, if you're not available on Amazon, we're not buying. And I was curious about that. So I asked them deeper why. And they're like, well, we don't know you guys enough. With Amazon, at least it's a trusted company to a certain extent. And so that was kind of like pushing us towards Amazon. The only reason we weren't going at the beginning was because they still don't have Amazon Fresh yet for Canada. And because Mark's product's not on the Fresh side, which actually is way beneficial on the Amazon platform, we can't do the Prime. We can't do that stuff, which actually hurts us at the current moment. That being said, it's a great supplement. I'm telling you, for brands like ours, till you get on the Prime, until you can get on the fresh side, it's a great supplement for trust and for the customer that's literally daily shopping on there. They're daily shopping on Amazon and not going on other websites. So it's like, if you're not on there, like Mark said, you're really missing a big portion of humans that naturally buy food, beverage, house supplies, CPG products on there.
And you mentioned there about Amazon Fresh. If anyone in the chats doesn't know what it is, how would you explain Amazon Fresh? And why can't you go FBA versus Mark's products can?
So I think the Amazon Fresh, I'm not sure when, is it coming to Canada sooner than later? I'm not really sure. No,
it's just the shipping is an absolute nightmare for it. Like the US has got their setup so damn well placed versus Canada. They'll still have to do the shipment, and like Amazon Fresh in the US is like, it's like 2 to 4 hour delivery time.
It's crazy. It's one of the best things. And I just think that for us, we just can't do it. Even in the US, because we're still not set up to be on that Prime side stuff, we can't get set up. So for us, until that time is right, we're not going to dedicate a lot of our resources there. And we're, for us, I know D2C is great and all, but again, shipping chocolate is very difficult, even on our own website, our own, even 3PLs, etc. It's very difficult. So for us, the money's better spent in our case and resources on retailers and pushing velocities at retail physical locations. And how we think about that, I know we're getting into that, but how we think about it is that there are these DC centers across all of the world, wherever we have the retailers. And that's how we look at retail relationships, is that they're DC centers for people to get the product close to them.
Just a note for US. I mean, I think you might know this, but Fresh is different. Fresh is its own. It's actually like its own retailer. It's difficult to get into Fresh. Funny enough, we're right in the middle of it right now, but think about how long that took. And I feel like we have a little, I mean, we're somewhat known. We're still such this little company, right? But I want to be on Fresh. And it wasn't one of those things like, I just contacted somebody and was like, hey, hook us up. And no, we've waited a really long time, and we're right at the tail end of what really is a review. It's like a retail review. And Jake is right. It's a really great opportunity when you get onto Fresh versus what the standard platform. Again, standard platform is beautiful. We do well on it. We've grown on it. I could get into different things too about how we've eliminated some spends and we've turned it into an actual profit center, which is really hard to do. I don't think people talk openly enough about it. They burn a lot of money on these direct channels for many reasons why. It's all good. Every business is its own, and there's reasons and there should be strategies as to why you're going about it. But we finally found sort of the profit center in it. But it wasn't easy. So there's just a little feedback.
If you want, Mark, like I want to do Amazon for like 5 to 10 minutes. If you can dive into some of those things, like I think for everyone listening, I would love to know who's currently on Amazon and who's not, so that Mark has some context too. I know we added a couple there, but what did you notice? Like, what were the things that, like, if you had the restart, you could have doubled down on? Now that you've I think you've almost mastered the wheel of what Amazon is, and Jake, I think, is getting to that place with Amazon the same way that you've mastered retail strategy.
As in restart, like actually do another CPG company? Well, that's for a whole other conversation. Don't ask me those pointed questions. I'll disappoint people, in a heartbeat with an answer there. So, I'll give a number here, and I know I don't want it to like scare anybody, but it is what it is. I basically said you got to do 100,000 a month on Amazon to find where there's a break. Again, every product, its physical size, its price points, its weights, all have to be part of this discussion here. I'm just going to give it for instance, for comparison, we have this box of Airy product. It's air, right? We're shipping puffs, and it's this big, and it's only $20. So I just give it, like, we don't have the best format for direct, whether it's Amazon or a website. So just there. But I knew there's a number as far as what our margin was, as far as net margin was, that we would need to get to have some sort of opportunity for profitability. As part of that discussion has to do with not acquiring the customer anymore. What I mean by that is there's something really beautiful about Amazon where you can have recurring going, right? So your customer hits that button and says, yes, deliver it to me every month. Well, isn't that beautiful? That means that that's a customer of yours. Hopefully they're staying around. it's CPG is competitive where they might go somewhere else after 5 or 6 times, but if you got them for 5 or 6 times, it's a profit center. So combine all that information and then just know, all right, where is there going to be the crossover of getting into profitability? Well, we knew what that number was, but we also did something very interesting this last month where we've been trying to cut costs. To be fair to this, I think everybody is. They're trying to figure out what the heck am I supposed to be doing right now. They're just trying to drive out as much cost in their business as possible. One of them was if we were spending $15K a month on ads on Amazon, what would happen? And I knew the number, $15K, and it was capturing, 5,000 and turned it off. You just, you don't know, just turn it off. Well, we did that. And it's interesting. We have not seen a decline yet. We haven't seen necessarily that capture of X sales, but we didn't see a decline in what our previous month or 2 or 3 months were. So that's a beautiful thing because I'm just going to, for reference of financials, it's a $15,000 spend. That goes all the way down to the bottom line. So that's our scenario. On reference to a comparison, let me just give it to you. If I were in the supplement business and I were selling a pre-workout and it's in a small container like this, sorry, I'm using these weird things with my hands. It's probably odd.
It works.
I just know that business fairly well too. A pre-workout is extremely inexpensive to make. And so, all the meatheads out there, shout out. It's extremely inexpensive. And so your margins on it are gigantic. What's beautiful is that small container is $40. So it's got a nice price tag on it. Plus you have beautiful margin. Plus it's a really, really usually is a nice recurring business if you've captured the right customer. Because people who find a pre-workout that they love, they usually stick with it. Just using it as comparison.
Jake, what do you got on that? Any comments?
No, I think Mark really kicked it. I think he's right. It's size. A lot of it's size, understanding your margin and space that your physical product's actually in, because margin and supplement compared to bars is different, right? And if you could get on the fresh, that is an opportunity that is amazing. Like, I think that's a big game changer. And I think the overall full circle that I would say about Amazon is if you're not on it, get on it, figure it out. There's room for everyone on there. And Mark's right. Don't go spend like crazy on it. You don't necessarily have to. You can get creative on winning on it without doing the $15K a month. But there is a time where you do hit the profitability. If you can't get there, that's going to be a burn of yours as well in your business. So you got to be careful too until you could reach that point. Because I know companies always say burn, but that doesn't last. If you think about the longevity of that, it's very dangerous to burn forever. Look at the time we're in. People are burning more than ever right now, and they're struggling getting that demand or the consumption that needs to be there. So you need to have a plan to get to that profitability, Mark, first of all, and then find that plan within your Amazon to get to the number that Mark's talking about, that inflection point. Because if you're never going to get there, it's not necessarily worth it as an expense. There might be better expenditure on maybe retail or maybe something else, an influencer. I don't know, whatever it is, but be very wary of that and find out what that number might be. Reverse engineer it.
And
I want to add one point to that because well articulated, Jake. You might not even realize how much you're burning on a platform like Amazon. And I'll use another reference. Maybe people will understand this. It's like having chips on the table in Vegas. It doesn't feel like it's real money, but it's real money. And I like that. It's just. I know it's so weird. Don't gamble, folks. Please don't do that. It's like, because you are producing product and you're sending it into the warehouse, which, by the way, it's almost like it's it's just that you don't necessarily realize, and because you don't often understand every line item as far as an expense from Amazon. Most people just don't. I've had so many conversations about Amazon, and where I'm actually shocked that they don't understand all of those different line items that get extracted, right, from the end game. And if you don't understand that, you don't realize that you're just basically putting product in there on consignment, because that's kind of what it is, right? And that money that's sitting in there in consignment is money due to somebody else, by the way. Don't forget that, right? And so it's not until you sell it. I mean, it's just this, we can go on for days. The point is, you don't really realize oftentimes how much you may actually be burning on a platform like Amazon. And as Jake alluded to, that money could really potentially be spent elsewhere or not spent at all. Sometimes it might even behoove you to, I don't want to say you should do it, but just to not have that category there. It's just one of those things. You got to know your numbers. I know that's really cliche. You have to know your numbers and understand how significant they are to the rest of your business. And by the way, I only say that from experience. I'm an idiot too. Like, it's all good, everybody. Like, you don't think like everybody out here is like some like amazing entrepreneur, like operator. I know plenty I've spoken with who are like, you would think are gems, and they don't understand. I'm just
no, it's bang on. We speak to like 100 million plus like food-based businesses, like the really big ones, and they don't even know Amazon. And like they're working backwards to try to figure it out. So you're bang on, Mark. But what I was going to ask you guys was that I think a lot of what founders and CPG brands are doing right now is they're trying to graduate to retail. Obviously, it feels like that whether we like it or not, it almost feels like the kind of the golden archer in the sky. Now, have you guys actually noticed that you guys being on Amazon or not being on Amazon was an advantage or disadvantage of getting retail? Like, was there anyone that mentioned like that got retail because of that, or that was brand awareness? Like, how do you guys think about those two? That if there is a plan to go into retail, does Amazon complement that? Does it actually put you at a disadvantage? What are your guys' thoughts?
Mark, I'll start this on. So I think that there's a benefit, in my opinion, because if you think about this, just think about this in your own personal self. If you're shopping on Amazon, okay, and you see a top seller, let's just say naturally you're looking at a category and you're not even looking to buy things for your retail store. Let's say you're a buyer and you're not looking to buy things, but you're on it and you see, oh, I Want and Midday Squares are the top 5 brands. And then you see and I want pitching within the set to get into that category. You're subconsciously seeing that they're crushing it. This is real data. This is live data showing that people buy the product, right? You can't fake that. You just can't. You can't just naturally fake the numbers you're putting on there. Yes, you might be burning a crap ton of money to go get there, but from a standpoint of perception, it's good. That being said, also, I think some buyers use Amazon as a platform to understand that, is this a good product that sells, and then bring it. So I know Whole Foods is definitely now, with the mix of the ownership or the merger of that, they are definitely looking at data from what's going on their platforms to maybe apply to their store level stuff and product selection or private label selection or whatever it is. So in my opinion, Amazon should be a tool used to help you get into retail to a certain extent, but that should be the dominant way you get in.
Mark, what do you think?
Jake is right. I'll just leave it on that point. You have reviews on Amazon. Where else do you get what is considered real reviews? Because I'm going to tell you something, folks. I hope this doesn't upset you. Those reviews on somebody's website, you can approve all the good ones and not approve the bad ones. Don't cry. Don't get upset about what I just said. Okay,
you're breaking
history, Mark. The fact that somebody has 92,000 reviews and 91,875 of them are 5 stars, that could be swayed a little bit. Now, there's one place you can't. Amazon is only real reviews. Back in the day, I don't know if people remember this too, you could get your homie to go on Amazon and do it. Your mom's on there, your sister, all that. You remember that? You tell them to go on there. You didn't even need to buy the product. They don't do that. The last few years, and I love that. So you do it too. I mean, I just bought something on there. I go check out the reviews. I have a certain way to do it. I'm sure you do too. I go look at the most recent reviews, and I look at the like 20 of them. And if like 17 of them are solid, that's what I go with. Because don't always, it is what it is. Somebody's always in a foul mood every so often and hates on you. It is what it is. So the 3 out of 20 that's like hating on you for some reason. Oftentimes, if you read them too, it has nothing to do with the product. It's because they didn't like my hair. So whatever. So going back to it, it's a great reference point. Hey, these are reviews. We have 1,000 of them, and we have a 4.6 star. The people have spoken. And so Jake nails everything else for sure.
That's good. That's good. One of the other things I was going to recommend is that even we were speaking to, we did a fair trade session yesterday, and their whole issue was they're a Canadian brand and they were getting on Amazon and they were trying to fulfill their own Shopify orders. And Amazon actually has a program, and you have to be delicate because you're putting your risk of product inside of Amazon, and like that's the stomach of the beast itself. But there's a program for anyone listening called Amazon multi-channel fulfillment. So what you can actually do is place your Shopify or your website orders through your actual Amazon channel. And traditionally, those shipping costs are just cheaper for the most part, especially if you're in Canada. So Amazon will actually fulfill that end customer order, and they'll usually do it in like a non-branded box. So it's a hack that not too many brands know about, that if you're looking to try to figure out if Amazon's the right fit, you might be able to actually just leverage them as like a 3PL for your D2C. I don't know if I love the idea of being completely like sold on one channel, but it might be a cool idea if you're trying to stay slim.
Never go in on only one channel.
We use that. We use it.
You use it.
We do that. So we do the fulfillment through Amazon. So here's a reference point. And by the way, if somebody wants to holler in a message, I know like Jake's probably super busy too. We're all busy, but like if it's quick stuff, people know if they hit me up on a message, I try to get a response. But so this is just, we use that. And that means, so again, from experience, we didn't use that before. And I could go tell you how, what of a mess that was. We really enjoy the use of that platform. I could name the 10 reasons, but it is what it is. And as far as costs and just sort of the efficiency of it, it's a win. There's my response to that subject.
I agree. Blair, you said something very important. It's not, you can't go all in on something. So I think everyone that's starting a business, don't rely necessarily just on Amazon or on your website or one retailer. Like a lot of people talk about Costco for when you go physical. Some people have that above 30%, 35% of their portfolio, which is very dangerous to play that game, because if that goes, you lose that instantaneously. You lose 35% of your revenue. Think about that. I'm not saying Amazon's going to do that to you, but if you go only full, guns blazing on Amazon and are so happy, and then one day things just change. Look at the iOS software changes that did to Facebook and Instagram. There was a decrease instantaneously, right? So, you got to just be very wary. And that's also, in my opinion, advocating to have your own website as a platform to sell at, because you own the customer, like Mark said earlier. Yeah. But I think be very careful at retail, on online and on physical. Do not put your eggs in a majority of a basket. Be very careful on how you do that, because again, things change really quickly without explanation sometimes.
So the one thing I wanted to touch upon on the Amazon, and then I want to dive into some of the retail stuff. And as you guys have questions, there's a couple beforehand that I want to make sure we covered. Was that Canada versus the USA? I think it's unique, Jake, because obviously you're coming from the Canadian front, and then Mark is vice versa. Jake, how were you thinking about that? Your Canadian versus US on the Amazon front, being kind of the founder and leading that ship.
So yes, Canada has obviously been strong for us. The US was, again, a way to get we were getting asked from the US customers more than the Canadian customers to be on Amazon. The US customers felt more comfortable buying on Amazon at the beginning rather than buying from our website. But Canada was the opposite, but we started with Canada first. And I think that, we're growing on the Amazon side, and we're going to invest a lot more on that US side right now, because, again, like we said before, if you're not on that platform and doing some sort of volume on there, then what are you selling, in all honesty? Unless you're selling something really sketch that can't be on that. If you're not doing that, there's something might be wrong with the product or the type of industry you might be in.
Mark, how are you thinking about that? Because you guys use a distributor, right, in Canada? So you guys solely handle the US?
Correct. Yeah, I leave Canada alone for all the online stuff. And that's just, that's the
Got
simplest
it.
way to
And
do
why
it.
did you choose that? Just from the simplicity?
Because then there's actually real volume and there's a real partnership there. I mean, it's just like anything, right? We've been lucky. I knew our guys up there even before this, but and we grew with them. It's funny enough, we started nutrition supplement because we sort of have that customer, and then they evolved into grocery, which is beautiful timing for us. But online is also a piece of the business, and it can be a big piece, right? So when you're shipping up product up there, like let them have at it. That's just my way of doing it. I think I'm just a fan of that. I think it's a true partnership, especially in an opportunity like that. It's not like Canada is small. It's smaller, of course, than the US, but it's still a great opportunity up there. So if you partner well, which should include retail and e-com, I just think it's a fair play.
One of the recommendations I have for a lot of founders is that so the Canadian market is just a lot smaller. So like you cannot expect anywhere near, but with that, there's a lot less competition. So we've seen some brands that had a pretty large catalog, even ones that had one or two, is they use Canada almost as like a trial market. So brands that have big catalog, they'll try everything and they can learn from it and it won't cost them an arm and a leg. Or if you're a new brand, like you can get started if you're in Canada, of course, that's the advantage of like where Jake and I are. But the ability to just launch it and trial it out, like advertising is less expensive. There's less competitors. There's a lot less demand. But with that, at least you can get a pulse of how much interest there actually will be. So you can learn the ways of the ropes, the issues, the pain points before you step into the US. Because like Mark and Jake are saying, like, the US is a very competitive space. If you're stepping into supplements down there, like you need to be prepared to be able to go to war, especially if you're in like a hyper competitive niche. So it's just things that we want to make sure that you guys consider. Before I go into retail, Michelle had a question here. She said, can you guys see the question as it comes up here too?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Jake, want to read it?
Yeah. Question for you guys. What do you think the abbreviation BSBY for Better Snack, Better You, like you did for MDS? How soon did you abbreviate? BSBY is the only popcorn made with organic aged ingredients, fruit and veggies, and tastes delicious. Okay, so that's a great question. So she's basically asking, Michelle, great question. She's asking, when do you go to your abbreviation? So when we started, we're still our Midday Squares as the company, but what we realized is we actually want to move towards MDS. And the reason why we did that is we want that to be a ticker if we ever go public on the stock market. That's number one. But number two is we watched our consumer feedback and how they interacted with us and what they were using as the name of the company as they were talking or posting about us. And MDS was the most common. So in their language, we were starting to be, their lingo. We wanted to turn our brand into that. And at the end of the day, if we move out of the typical Midday Square product, MDS is more of an open frame to that. And I think there's a time and place to do it. At the beginning, you want to have your product. For us, we want it to be known as Midday Squares, and eventually move into it. And it will take 3 years before we even go to that. But again, we're inching towards that. So I think you'll know when your base is big enough and watch their lingo. Do they use that? That's one way. And then number two, think about your future product lines and where that's going.
Mark.
Yeah, I like that. I like BSBY. Acronyms are what they are. To this day, people wanted me to change to I1. It is what it is. Everybody's going to have something to say. So you're going to come across a lot of different commentary to what you should be doing with your business. And some of them are seasoned people and some of them are not. But I'm a fan of that BSBY. I like the acronym, and I think people will probably use it. I probably, just like an MDS, I get his reference point there, right? It's how are they communicating? How are they commenting? How are they responding? How are they telling a friend? Hey, those guys at MDS? It probably is just easier. We like simple things these days. You notice that? I think it's because, these younger folks, they like this quick stuff. It's social media. You know what I mean? It's just at their fingertips. You ain't cracking books anymore.
I know in the comments, I see like between Esteban and Miriam and Lauren and Matthew, add your feedback down below. I'm super curious what you guys all think of this, the ESBY. One other question that I think it was Esteban ended up asking was that What are your guys' thoughts on bootstrapping, seeking outside capital? One, it was like Jake, when you're in here, did you bootstrap or did you seek capital? And Mark, I know like even on LinkedIn, it's a kind of a topic of continued conversation. So what are your guys' thoughts on it? Do you utilize it and when?
We bootstrapped at the beginning and we committed, we're 3 partners. So we committed a total of, it's a lot of money, 600,000. And we wanted to see if this would work. And the reason why we gave it the 600,000 is because we really wanted to give it its full. And I'm not saying that it has to be that kind of money every single time. It could be $10,000, but I believe when you put your own money into it and empty out your bank account, which is what I did, and move back home to my parents' house, you really feel it, right? You really are sacrificing a lot. You're sacrificing something that's meaningful to you. If you just go take outside capital, yes, you're responsible for that outside capital. And that's, I guess the venture world or an angel or a family friend or whatever it is. I think there's a little difference with your internal feelings. So I think that knowing that I had that on the table and that much to lose, I really dedicated my entire life. I remember the first year, like the whole thing in that moment, and my partners did too. And, I'm lucky that I had some money saved over, and my partners did very well in a previous business. So he had money to support my sister and him in the investment. But it's just like, put skin in the game. I know there's books on it, there's podcasts, there's all that stuff. I'm not sure if Mark did it that way. I'm not 100% sure, but that's my advocate. I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with taking outside capital. We have outside capital now in our company. But when you have that initial boost, it gives you the freedom to also make decisions that you want to be. You are in control. No one controls your decision or your vision.
Mark, what do you think?
Yeah. Every business is its own. And this is another one of those topics. So everybody's got a comment to it, right? And they all some of them want to dog on other businesses for doing it this way, that way, but they've never even done it. So they've never done it. They've never been in knee deep in shit before. So I kind of chuckle at open commentary when it comes to hard topics like this. So my comment would be, going back to what I originally said, every business is its own. And Jake and their team, they're in a manufacturing business. That's its own business. So people don't even understand, fathom what that takes. What does that take? I'm not just talking about capital. I'm talking about just physical and mental, sort of equity. So you would have to understand what that means versus another business where maybe you're using a comb manufacturer or a manufacturer of some sort. Every business is its own, and every business will require a certain amount of capital. There is no doubt that there was a gold rush in the last 10 years. And I almost say, luckily, I've been able to watch this because I would have no reference point. That's why I get to say it now, which is like I get to look back at 6 years and go, oh my God, what would I have done or what should I be doing? That's just through experience. Jake can say the same thing. Since 2018, he now has 4+ years of being in the muck of it, to go, okay, right? This is what we could have and should have and all that. However, I'm also a move forward person. I don't look at necessarily yesterday and, oh, I wish I would have. That doesn't work. You take the experiences and the education from that and apply it to tomorrow. So with that said, just to the subject matter, every business is its own. If you are going to talk to folks who want to talk about capital and what it may mean to your business, make sure you're talking to people who are actually doing it. And I go a step further on this, and I'm not trying to downplay somebody who might have had a success 10 years ago, but I will say something to that. Business in this space 10 years ago is totally different than it is today.
I agree.
It is.
I agree with that.
It is. And I don't take away from anybody's past success, their experience, the stuff that they may have done, but the look back for me, at least, is 5 years. I think the CPG space has totally evolved. And over the past 5 years, it's a different game. So if you're going to get advice, talk to people who are either actively in it, like true operators, and look at the window of when they are in it. So how long has it been, or how long has it been as far as their past success, and make determinations on who you're getting.
I think to add to just Mark's point, he said, I agree with everything you just said. Every business is different and every strategy will be different. And also advice from relevant operators that have been in the past space. We're not saying that those operators from 15 years ago weren't unbelievable what they did. And they're superstars. They did great jobs. But he's right. The game keeps changing. Look, social media became part of this game, which was completely different 15 years ago, right? That was just when Facebook was entering that space. So you've got a whole different game. But I think also from a different game standpoint is, yes, both Mark and I are in food. We're both in the better for you, whatever you want to call it, emerging brands. But Mark's right. We manufacture, we self-manufacture, which takes a lot of capital. And that was a choice. It was a necessity of a choice, though. But the idea behind it was it did require a tremendous amount of capital injected into it to prove the concept, to go get outside growth capital. Otherwise, our business only makes sense to become a business at scale. And it's still not at the scale it makes sense at. So think about that. We're 4 years deep. We've hemorrhaged a lot of money. But at our model that we created, at one point very soon, it tips over. But again, that's what we chose to do. Not every business needs to go invest $500,000 at the get-go to prove out its manufacturing. Mark, I believe you have co-packers, right? Co-manufacturers, which again, both have pros and cons, but Mark didn't necessarily need to go put $500,000 into his company because he was able to focus on other things that maybe he was able to bootstrap from other resources, not money, to get it going, to get that scale that he wanted to get to. So I guess it's also know your business and know what to expect. 600,000 is a scary number, but we knew what we were getting into. We knew that this would drain at the beginning, but at one point it tips, and we were betting on that tipping format.
Off the back of that, and I don't mind leaving it because I've been talking openly about it. I'm a fan of self-manufacturing. I'm a big fan of vertical integration. And again, that only comes through experience that I'm saying that. I won't say what we're, looking at or what we're trying to do and everything else, but I'll just leave it at, I'm a big fan of vertical integration. And to go to what their team has done, there's a team at MDS. It's also not just like what they've done as far as injecting capital and going that route. It's what they're putting in their back pocket. Manufacturing is its own business. MDS or I1, these are sales and marketing companies, right? Like you could go grow that brand through social media. Manufacturing is its own animal. And to me, I'm lucky I've gotten to this point. It's an exciting one. And what I mean by that is you actually are building what I consider a true asset. I think Nick has mentioned this recently. I only get these posts come down every once in a while, but I've seen him say something about like he's building, he doesn't use this language, this is mine, like a resume. And what I mean by that is when you learn manufacturing, if you're also in the muck of it and you're seeing it physically done, it's in your house, you are building quite an asset for yourself. And the reason is manufacturing will never go away. I don't like to say I1 or XYZ brand but those go away. Those go away. And they go away for the 400 different reasons, right? But if you are good at manufacturing and you built something and understand the process that need to occur, you've built a business that is long-standing. And I'll tell you a reason why. Sorry, folks, if you're out there in the manufacturing space and you don't like what I'm going to say here. There's not a lot of great manufacturers out there. If you're one of them, don't take offense to my comment right now. I'm going to leave you as the good one. There are not a lot of great manufacturers out there. And I think there's a lot of opportunity in that business. So I'll leave it at that as far as my take on that subject.
Mark's right. If you become a good manufacturer, he's right, there's not a lot. And that's the truth. Like whatever way you spin it, a lot of businesses close due to their lack of ability to efficiently manufacture. I think what we're learning is that's the hardest part of this whole business. It's not the raising money. It's not the building the brand. It's not selling the product at retail. It's none of that. It's not selling on Amazon. The hardest part is understanding how to get your margin up, how to build an efficient process, a complete team that can do it, and actually balancing that alongside building a brand, alongside building a sales team, alongside selling on Amazon. So I think the only reason why Midday Squares would fail is not because the product's not great, not because the brand's not very strong and community driven. It's because we're balancing too much under one roof, and the manufacturing is sucking my partners. I know, like he said, Nick's my brother-in-law, my partner. Him and Leslie, they run the plant. So I see how much energy, emotionality, stress goes into that. And it's hard, guys. It's gruesome. It takes a lot out of you. And there's not a lot of younger manufacturers. So there's a lot of old school large manufacturers that have done it since the war, for example, since after World War II. But if you look at the millennials, the Gen Zs, we're talking very minimal amount of self-manufacturers, which again comes down to a resume. God forbid anything goes wrong and blah, blah, blah. Not understanding how to make something physically with the process, the core principles and all that stuff is a value add in life. But again, you could build a business, a huge successful $1 billion business by not manufacturing. So, again, Mark and I are just two separate businesses, both succeeding and winning. So we're both doing different strategies, but it's working, right? Not one's better than the other.
That's bang on. Now, Jake, Mark, are you good for 10 more minutes? I have a couple of things. Okay, rock it.
I have 3 minutes, so
right.
I'm going to get off at 3 minutes. Mark will crush the rest.
So basically, when Jake leaves, I'll move from third best looking to second best looking. So it's all good. I'll take it.
I'll take it too. So Jake, while I still have you here, 2 things I wanted to go through. Your mix of because I want to talk to Mark about the retail side. Your retail versus your e-com versus your Amazon. You don't have to talk numbers, but percentage wise, what do those look like? Just so brands have context. And Mark, I'd love to know yours too.
Last year we were 50-50, so 50% D2C, and I'm including Amazon in the D2C side, okay? 50% D2C and 50% wholesale. Now we're 70-30 retail, wholesale to D2C. So we decided that, though. That was a choice due to, again, logistics and shipping. And we realized that just the sheer volume of retail, if done properly, and please take that as a serious statement, if done properly, retail is very good. You don't just spray and pay and put your product in as many doors as there are. There's 50,000+ doors to sell in North America. And if you want to be in the food and beverage space, you do not need to sell at all those stores, first of all. And number 2, if your product's just sitting there for 2 years on a shelf and not moving, it does no one any good. It's a waste of energy, waste of time. So if you're going to do retail, focus on depth rather than wide. And if you do, especially being a fresh business, product will probably last a little longer than ours, but we have a 90-day shelf life, soon to be 120, but a 90-day shelf life, that means we got to look at the stores about 70, 75. We have 70 days to sell that product off the store, max. So we don't go wide. We go, if we're doing Whole Sprouts, whatever it is, here are Sobeys, whatever, we're going deep into velocities. People care about velocities, the amount of product you sell on a weekly basis per store per week. Make sure you go hard on that rather than, okay, I'm going to take Kroger at 3,000 stores just because it's a hot name or blah, blah, blah. If you're not ready, it will drain all your capital. Every bit of the dollars you have in your company. If you think Amazon's draining that, I guarantee you retail will drain more.
Bang on. Jake, I know you got to jump, so we don't want to take too much off you.
I love all of you. If you guys want to reach out, add me LinkedIn. Like Mark said, we answer. I'm happy to answer and get on a call and do all that stuff. Yeah. You guys are both great looking folks. I love you both. And thanks for having me, Blair. And Mark, keep up the energy. Let's go to that resort in your background, okay, one day?
One day. Later, brother. Be good. Be good, man.
So Mark, on your side, what does that percentage look like between retail?
Ours is basically 80-20, 80-25 to retail. So we'll still do 20 to 25% online. A majority of it
is that going to change next year?
I don't think so. It's funny. I'm looking at a 2022. I have 9 goals for 2022 that are on in front of me from January that I leave up there, and then I put the 2023, and it says 20% D2C. So we'll probably do a little bit more than that, and that's where we believe we'll always stay. we're a retail brand for sure. We don't have all those the other obstacles that MDS has. Like he's talking short shelf life. That is very short. They're refrigerated and things like that. It adds to it. But he's right, and they've done a good job on that idea of going, a mile deep, right? I like that theory, and I know that they do well in the stores that they're in, and they can just really focus on that because that's a really great strategy. It would be the strategy for anybody. It's also nice on the flip side to, yes, get the other activation. It gets sales going, revenue going. You can truly see, do we have an opportunity in a conventional space that has 2,000 doors? Where would we sit at? Or, is our customer there? I agree that you don't need to do that or find that data by going into 2,000 doors when it comes to, natural versus conventional versus convenience and the like. You can do smaller subsets to find out the data and then go from there.
And everyone's going to be dying for this, Mark. With the goals that you have set, you don't have not the specifics on what do those goals look like from the mind of Mark. Like what types of goals are theirs? How are you thinking about that? Because I feel like some of the founders and brands that are in the chat, they might actually be able to utilize and think about the goals the same way.
Here are the 9. You ready? One has to do with pure. It says pure velocity at door counts, which funny. I use the term velocity, meaning a lot of people call out door counts and they don't move anything there. So mine is a number of doors that I want to be in, but that actually move product. Then there's our ARR, which is basically our revenue. So, the last quarter of the year, what's our run rate? Then there's same team. So I'm a big believer. I want to make sure that our team is still here. So it says same team. That to me means nobody's left. We've been very blessed to have the same team from the beginning. 20% D2C. I have profit. So I have a small percentage for profit that we wanted to try to nail. I don't know. On the back half of the year, we're going to find out if that's doable. One new innovation, which it just so happens, we have a new snack coming out in a month or two. LinkedIn growth. Oh, so that's probably now a personal thing. It has to do with LinkedIn. Let's eat and midweek mood 1 per week. So that means me committing to doing 1 per week, which I do. And then the last one is an A-round or strategic partnership. So completing one of those this year. So that's it. Those are the 9. They're kind of. I'm a simple person. Like people get all detailed. Fuck. Go do these 9 and maybe you're in business. That's how I look at it.
We have one question here too. It was from Selman. He said, Mark has spoken on LinkedIn about the 35% gross margin isn't enough to thrive as a CPG brand.
Do you need that 50 on day one? That's a great one with them. I'm a big believer that you need to be in 50. And by the way, when we talk gross margin, because oftentimes people use a different number for it, it's basically, your cost of goods sold versus what you're selling it to a distributor. What's your margin there? After it's landed in your warehouse and the like, right? That's a good starting point. And yeah, I'm a believer that it needs to truly be at 50 or above. And I know a lot of people are, how do I do that? I mean, I'm only running so much and my co-packer's drilling me. And well, because at 35%, which is the number used here, you don't have enough room. And the reason is I could just do back of hand math for you. Just in trade spend, oftentimes, especially a new brand, you could be at 25% on your trade spend. So all of a sudden you're down to really 10% and you don't have enough room there to run your business. Your G&A alone is going to be, probably higher than that. So that's why I use those numbers, and I'm kind of a matter of fact about it. And I don't want it to be disheartening, but I'm just talking the true realities of this space. Now, what has everybody done and what continue to do? Because again, I could go do back of hand math because I know inputs. I know what ingredients are that we don't even use. So when I go walk a grocery store and I see a bag of tortilla chips for $1.99, a 5-ounce bag, I could do back of hand math that just the inputs alone, forget the tolling, don't add up. That they're already in a reverse margin scenario, right? Like it's how this business has been sort of brought upon us through this last, like I just said, 10 years of a gold rush where there's been a lot of money poured in here because, VCs and PEs thought they'd, go hit a home run over here because their tech plays weren't working out as well. Well, it's not that easy. And we've now discovered that, right? The cash burn scenarios for forever don't work. And those brands that do get acquired, far and few between. Go. I just wrote a post about it. And again, it's not to be a downer about it. I just like to educate and be talking on the realities of the business that we're in. Like, what would be the opposite of that? What's the opposite of me not talking about the realities of the business we're in, right? Well, that sucks. You're getting fluff, and fluff never works. So it is what it is.
So Mark, on the retail side, how would you recommend? So the brands that are looking at this, I feel like there's a couple blooming questions of like, when's the right time? Because that's a very intimidating thing. Like I was asking Jake at the meetup, like, when's the right time? And he's like, it's actually a lot longer than people think about. So when do you think is the right time to get into stores? And how would you get into your first store if you had to do it again, which I know is a whole other conversation, but if you had to, what would you do?
I think you should know who the market fit is, right? Like what's the market fit of the brand and the product? You really should. I don't think you need to educate yourself on if you've created a cookie and it has this, that, and the other in it, right? To make it special. Like who's the customer? Well, I don't really know. Is it like that 20-year-old, skateboarder, or is it, the grandmother who's at home and really takes care of herself? I think you got to kind of know. Now, if you don't, then hit a few farmers markets and put it in front of a bunch of people, get feedback, and look at the customer. Like what are they? And from there, there's different grocers, retail positions that fit that. So it could be that local, like we have some independent grocery stores here in my neighborhood of Northern California. I kind of know who shops there and price points and the like. Like, go put it in those stores. Start there. 1 store, 2 stores, and get some feedback. Get data. Does it sell? What's the price point? Why? Who's coming back? And the like. From there, you could go to the next subset, which is like a regional player. There's plenty of them in your neck of the woods, right? Or if you feel like it's a California play, come out here. There's the Air Ones of the world, right? Like a true premium natural that's got 5, 6 locations. Like that's a really great place to just go get more data from. So I that's how I would be doing it. It's just go build on these sort of small, independent to regional and find out where's the best play for you, what's having success. And then you can start doubling down and looking for the bigger opportunities.
And where did you learn about the whole retail strategy? Because I feel like it's kind of an open sea. So like people have been figuring out like what is the fair price point, like how to reach out to them, like how to get your foot in the door. Is there places that you learned this stuff? Did you just try to like knock on your first retail door and get your foot in? What did that look like?
By doing it. By doing it. That's a great question. And it's why I talk on the fact of people getting advice from people who are in it. You should only be getting it. This is like about life. Forget selling cookies. I'm just talking about life. And these life events translate to business all the time. You got to go get advice and get questions answered from people who are in knee-deep shit all the time. Like, I'm very transparent about it. I am knee-deep in shit all the time. Come ask me a question. I'll have an answer for you. You can't go to somebody who did it 15 years ago or somebody who's partly retired and they're advising companies and all that. They're not in it. Jake's in it. Nick and they're in it. You know, and then there's something to be said about that personality and all that. Like I'm always fair to that too. There's people that you might not jive with as far as getting feedback from. That's I'm fair with too. Sometimes I'm a little bit too aggressive. Like I know myself. I wouldn't want to be in the room with myself sometimes. You know what I mean? So there are different people as far as personality that you can find that are in it, right? You might find a woman who's doing well and she's like mid-30s, like her whole positioning and her the way she articulates things and her calmness might be better than me. I'm so fair to that. So look for the person that you think might resonate with you well on a personality level too.
That's really good. The one other thing I wanted to ask, because I we've spoken about it, was that the international expansion. Is that something you're ever going to think about? Right now, obviously it's US based, even like global. Like, when are you guys thinking about that? And is there a right fit for a brand?
We have international business, right? Of course, we're up in Canada. Shout out Canada. You know how much I love you. I'm actually coming up there. I believe I am. I'm like coming up to the show that's in
amazing
Toronto. So I got to get my stuff in order. The last time when I came back, dude, in that line, man, at the airport, it's like, come on. Come on, we're family. U.S. and Canada are family. We love each other. Anyway. I like the idea of some international stuff, and we've been lucky. We have. I'm on an email right now, I think, for more stuff in the Middle East. We've always had that because we also have a good play for that because we have a single serve option that does very well. It also fits well for that nutrition supplement type space, and a lot of those regions offer that type of opportunity. So I'm a believer in it. I think you can have fixed margins there. Because it's sort of a drop in ship, right? You're not going to deal with all the other things that you deal with here as far as promotional support and the like. So if you can get that element into the business and there's profit there and it's something that you believe can be consistent, I think it's worth time putting into.
That's amazing. So Mark, we have one last thing that I want to get through as I know everyone is going to have to jump off. There were some other real cool questions, but they'll share them over. One funny thing, you were talking about cookies. I added the link here. One of the gentlemen inside, his name's Chris. He actually has a company called Buy Sweetness, and he has cookies. And you're giving all these examples.
I just say cookies. I've been saying some really anyway. Yeah, I say cookies. I think about cookies anyway. My mom wanted to do a cookie thing. I was like, go cook some cookies in the kitchen. Let me know what you got over there. So, we had a great name.
So I'm going to hit off some rapid fire questions. We did it with Jay Carls. It's just kind of, we do it all the time. Maybe if Lauren or Bradley, anyone else has a quick overrated, underrated. I'm going to rim off a couple things to you really quickly. Just give me the overrated, underrated feedback. It'd just be like overrated, underrated. I'm just going to fire them off of you. Midday Squares, overrated, underrated.
Underrated.
TikTok, overrated, underrated.
Underrated.
Direct to consumer, the whole e-com business.
Underrated right now because there's going to be some plays there.
Okay. Getting your product in store.
Getting your product in store?
Like more big box, the Loblaws, the Whole Foods, the Sobeys.
Overrated.
Overrated. The Canadian market, overrated, underrated.
Underrated. Shout out Canada, Toronto. Let's go. See how I said let's go? I haven't used that one in 8 months. So you see, that's how excited I am about Canada.
Instagram.
Overrated.
Trade shows.
Ugh. Overrated.
Using LinkedIn for actually getting retailers and new business.
Underrated.
Grossly underrated or just underrated?
I would say right now, I won't go grossly. I'll just say underrated.
Got it. Podcasts.
Overrated.
LinkedIn influencers.
Overrated.
Sports partnerships.
Overrated.
Free samples in store.
Overrated.
Brand mascots.
Underrated.
Facebook groups.
Underrated.
And then the last one here is like influencers. So that's sponsored influencers, whether it's on TikTok or Instagram. Overrated, underrated.
Overrated.
Why overrated? Because Lauren actually asked that too.
I think people don't understand they can do a lot of this stuff on their own, or at least, just to be fair to it, keep that expense extremely low and just get content out there. A lot of it.
You have any recommendations on how to produce more of that? Because obviously you produce.
I'm a big believer in just getting snacks into the hands of people that want to help you promote. And there's a lot of those people. I call them more of micro influencers. You're not cutting checks. You are maybe just getting them a box of the snacks, and you would be shocked to see how much content you can fire out if you can get a hold of.
Now, what would you call like a micro influencer? How many followers?
Anybody under 5,000.
Interesting. And is that a big push for you guys on the social media strategy? Is it just trying to get?
I just think it's a big general push for us as far as just even something I did prior to this. I'm just a big believer in micro influencers. That's how they call them. That's the only way I'm describing it right now so that people understand it. But it's just getting product in the hands of a lot of people who, whether they have 100 followers or 3,000, they're just getting content out there for you.
And last thing, you put a goal on your board for LinkedIn. What's that actual target or goal that you have for LinkedIn on the year?
I have this. It says 100%. So that just I assume that meant in January, maybe I had like 40,000. It could be just connections and followers is what I meant, but I have a feeling it's just more about engagement. I remember writing it, but I don't know if I had the pure sentiment as to what I meant by 100%.
And last one before we go, working out, overrated, underrated, and when in the day?
You know what I'm going to say to that. It's underrated. You exercise and proper nutrition, folks. It'll change your life.
What time do you work out in the morning, Mark?
I'm on the street at 6 warming up.
Nice and early. No one can get a hold of you till 10 or something like that, right? I think that's what I saw.
Well, I don't look at the phone until basically at that point until 8. And then even from there, I won't, from 8. I get the kids off then to school. Now the plan is basically 8:30, 8:45 is when I'm actually actively looking at an email. There's nothing good about leaving it with people, and people understand I've been writing about this. There's nothing good in that email. I know what you're looking for. You're looking for that big win that came over the night before that tells you you won the lottery. It ain't there. There's only friggin' fires sitting there. So why would you disrupt your physical and mental being first thing in the morning? It's totally unhealthy. What you do is ground yourself for the day. So the morning needs to be all health. You're grounding yourself. You're getting yourself prepared for the day. I'm an advocate of exercise. First thing, get the motors running, endorphins running, and the like, and preparing yourself for what is to come. There's so many benefits, and then we could go on for days.
It was the first time I checked my phone right in the morning. I regretted it immediately, right before the gym. Usually I'm being pretty good, and I decided to check today, and it was the worst thing I did. So I learned my lesson. I guess
there's a huge opportunity out there. I don't know what it is, but we'll all come to grips with this, that, the reaching over to our bedstand first thing in the morning is so unhealthy. It's grossly unhealthy. There's going to be, I'm sure there's probably tech stuff out there that doesn't allow you to do that, this, that, and the other, but like, we'll come around. I believe in us humans as far as getting our, shit together here. Like we need to come to Jesus. You know what I mean? Like we're doing some things to ourselves that are really, really unhealthy. And we're doing it to ourselves. I know this is total tangent from Amazon. Just giving you one health thing. I'm with you though, Pete. Like all people, like, I'm you, me, and we're the same. So when I'm saying this, it's like pure love and the like.
If everyone wants to find you, where's the best place if they have questions to rim off? I know you're busy, but if they end up sending it across, is it LinkedIn?
Yeah, probably LinkedIn. I would give my home address.
Yeah, that might cause a little bit of an issue there. And if everyone here too, while you guys are still in the chat, if you guys can go to I Want Organics TikTok in the middays, just give them a follow there. In the meantime, give some love over to them, and to say thank you, Mark, for coming on the episode. We really appreciate it, man. If anyone has questions, the man, the myth, Mark, thank you, sir, for coming on. And Jake was an absolute, he's always a ball of energy. So I know you're going to be at CHFA in September in Toronto. So anyone here that's in the chat still that wants to end up going to it, you're gonna have to hunt Mark down and find them.
Yep.
All right, thank you, sir. I really appreciate your time. Everyone in the chat, see you guys.
Right away. Be good.